Conservative media done right. You're listening to
It's Friday. Wow, it is Friday. It's Friday, the 20th of September. This is the Edge of Liberty. Coming up on today's show, if you live in California and you like memes, there's a damn good chance you can go to jail now. Also, is being racist hot? There's one CNN commentator who absolutely thinks so. Kamala Harris did her town hall with Oprah, and we got nothing but word salad. Also, the most hysterical act of war was committed by Israel. We'll talk about all that and more coming up right here. Hey, welcome back to the Edge of Liberty. Here we go. There's a new controversial law that dropped this week in California. Oh, this is just ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Governor Newsom signed a law that was passed, I think, in July or something like that, essentially banning parody, memes, satire, and going after the First Amendment. Essentially, if you live in California or you have a platform or a medium in California, which is what they're going to do with this, and you post any sort of deep fake AI parody, how far does that go? Memes can be considered a deep fake, right? You can have a meme with somebody saying something, and he now wants that to be a violation of law, so much so that he signed that into law. And of course, the retort by the internet community was absolutely incredible. I'm going to go right to, well, the SHR Media Network, because why would I not, to discuss this law. And man, it's just, this is the problem when you have people running a state or a country. And we saw this out of Hillary Clinton. I wrote another article about that too, where she's talking about how you should be able to limit free speech. I don't know what just beeped, but that's amazing. How you should be able to limit free speech in social media and in public spaces. That's pretty much what she's asking for. She didn't say that specifically, but she was saying, well, there should be limitations on what you can say online and stuff like that, because why would you not want limitations on free speech when your side is losing the argument, which is what it absolutely comes down to. Their side is losing the argument. So, as Governor Newsom posted to his Twitter, I just signed a bill to make this illegal in the state of California. You can no longer knowingly distribute an ad or other election communications that contain materially deceptive content, including deepfakes. So, one of the things that a lot of the leftists who are trying to defend this law have said is, well, it's just AI. You can't have this, you can't have that. No, you can no longer knowingly distribute an ad or other election communications that contain materially deceptive contents, including deepfakes. Everyone remember that there was the Kamala Harris ad that Elon Musk retweeted a while back. And everyone went nuts because it was an AI altered ad. It was an AI, it was funny. It's parody. That's the point. It's parody. When we lose parody and satire in this world, when that goes away, that's when we start to have a problem as a people. You see, because the First Amendment protects satire. Parody is part of satire. There's 100% parody as part of satire. When Saturday Night Live, this is a perfect example. When Saturday Night Live would go on and they have their news articles or their news show, what's it? Weekend Update. That's the word I'm looking for. When they have Weekend Update, that whole thing is satirical. There's plenty of parody in there. Plenty. How many times do they have candidates come on there and say crazy things that we know are crazy because it's SNL, right? Or somebody dressed up like a candidate. Well, isn't that a parody? Isn't that what parody is? And when they're talking, I mean, you look at how many times Alec Baldwin played Donald Trump saying things on there. That's parody. And I know, like I said, I know in the article I wrote about it on shrmedia.com, I posted that the governor's ex post said, I just signed a bill that would make this illegal. Knowingly distribute an ad or other election communication that is materially deceptive. That's parody, ladies and gentlemen. That is trying to ruin satire in the state of California. And let me tell you something. If there's one thing, if you're a student of law or history in this country, especially with case law in state Supreme Courts like California, when you have a law like this and others that they will apply beyond what the initial intent was of the law. You have spirit of law, letter of the law. Letter of law says A, B, C, D, E. The spirit of law is like, it says A, B, C, D, E, but it also kind of means this, right? So you're going to have somebody, some DA, some investigator, some bureaucrat who is going to find a way to bring charges under the spirit of the law. And mark my words, because California is infamous for this. And then it's going to get run up to the state Supreme Court. The state Supreme Court's going to say, oh, no, it's in the spirit of law because it's California and it's a leftist Supreme Court, state Supreme Court. And then it becomes California case law. Now, can it get appealed to the Supreme Court, get overturned? Yes. Do I think this law will get overturned? Most likely. But it blows my mind because even Gavin Newsom, and I'm going to go back to the video share I had. He's not backing down from this. This was asked the next day at a press conference, which was not about this law because there wasn't a press conference afterwards about this law once it was written. But he was asked a simple question, and this was his answer.
Hey, Governor, Jeremy White with Politico. You signed a bill this week prohibiting the intentional sharing of manipulated deepfakes of candidates in campaign season. Since you signed that bill, Elon Musk has reshared the video that drew your ire in the first place. There are deepfakes out there of you endorsing Donald Trump, saying you are an agent of the Chinese Communist Party. Do you intend to seek legal action, whether it's against Elon Musk or anyone else, as this law now gives you standing to do, to remove these things?
Well, look, I mean, we just signed the law. It's by no means novel. Like Alabama has a similar law. Florida has a similar law. Washington has a similar law. Ours goes a little further because it talks about election workers and what happens after the election.
There it is. Ours goes a little bit further because it's California, and that's what California does best, is they go a little bit further. Every single time they go a little bit further, and it will go a little bit further. I mark my words, it's going to go a little bit further. By the way, chat room, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Rumble, I think Facebook Live, and if you want to tweet me, it's at 2 Against Tyranny. First of all, give me some feedback what you think about this law in the chat room or at 2 Against Tyranny. You can just search Sackhead Sean and I pop up. I'm the first one with this ugly mug. And I want to know if you think legitimately if this is going to be a problematic law in other places outside of the election. My answer is not going to shock you, honestly. My answer is yes, but I want to know what your opinion is. Oh, man, there's so much going on. It's Friday, by the way. I got right into it. I didn't ask how you were doing. I didn't ask how your week was going. I'm sure you're glad it's over. Hopefully you got good plans for the weekend. Have a couple of cocktails. You know, it's the hard part. As you can see, I have a different background than I had last time. I'm still trying to develop. I moved my setup back into the old studio that used to be the SHR Media Studio. It's not as big. I don't have all the equipment like I used to. You know, it's a little podcast. But I'm trying to really just dial in the look. You can see I messed with some of the buttons on the screen or the images. I'm just trying to hone it in. So bear with me for the first couple weeks. There's going to be some changes. If you're ever so inclined, there is a Venmo there. You don't have to. What I do and would really appreciate is if you go to shrmedia.com and just read through some of the articles that we're putting up on there. Like I said, we're rebuilding SHR. We're doing hard work. BZ, by the way, if you didn't see his interview last night with Jeff Dunn, it's over on Rumble, but it's also on YouTube. Our Jersey Joe from the Revert Common Sense Show, we've all been really collaborating the last few weeks to try to make this happen, make this better for you, make it a better experience, and do what we can. If you happen to know somebody who likes to podcast and is looking for a home, or write articles, is looking for a home, info@shrmedia.com, shoot us an email, or just reach out to me on Twitter, Sackhead Sean. Follow me, like me. There's a bunch of stuff. I share mostly politics, but my Twitter can also be comical, for the lack of a better word. Usually it's not my stuff. Usually it's just stuff I share. Also, while we're in this great state of California, you may not know there's a proposition going on in California, and I'm going to stick here for a few more minutes, called Prop 36. What does Prop 36 do? Well, I don't know if you know this, but there's been a little bit of a crime problem in California, so much so that I believe we're now leading the country in crime and homelessness, poor, unfed kids, homeless. Yeah. No, we've got a couple problems, but this one specifically, Prop 36, is supposed to deal with crime. Now, Prop 47 was passed years ago. I think it was 2014. Prop 47 was sold as the Safe Schools Act, all this other stuff. Essentially what it did is took a bunch of stuff and stopped making it felonies. There was an AB that was passed, or a state law that was passed a couple of years earlier, that I think it's 102 or 107. I always get them confused. I think it's AB 102. 109, AB 109. And that essentially opened the prison doors in California and released a ton of people and put the burden and kicked a bunch of people out of the state prisons and kicked them down to the county jails and released a whole bunch of them outright. So that was the start of this, and it put a tremendous burden on the local counties. It made it really hard for anybody to be arrested because the jails were just full. Also, violations of probation and parole became nil. So it didn't matter what you were on probation or parole for. If they didn't have the space, you weren't getting violated, is really what it comes down to. And cops were being told, hey, we don't have space tonight. Cite and release. So, it was a mess. So then you had 47. 47 knocked a lot of felonies down to misdemeanors, and then knocked a lot of misdemeanors threshold for arrest higher. So it took these felonies and it made them misdemeanors, and then it took a lot of misdemeanors like shoplifting and property crimes and made the threshold to actually higher, so it stayed a misdemeanor, right? So it's $900, $950, $900. State of California, I don't even remember anymore. I live here. I used to know all this stuff, and then I just had to check out for a couple of years. So what happened is, amazingly, crime went out of control in California, as it does when you make everything legal. And we saw that in Oregon, which is why they're trying to recriminalize narcotics. But thefts from Target stores in general, shoplifting went through the roof. You have these mob riot robberies. They are robberies because the people inside are petrified. They're scared when they see 40 kids run in and ransack the whole place. It's a robbery. Robbery is taking of another person's property by force of fear, and they are in fear. They're stealing the store blind while people are in fear. Never mind all the other litany of other property crimes and personal crimes, people crimes that are one-on-one that are happening. So we have Prop 36 on the ballot, which is going to undo a lot of 47. It's not going to undo all of 47, but it's going to undo a lot. And the Democrats in this state, including Newsom, are pissed. And they're pissed because it has a 71% approval rate. Prop 36 is most likely going to pass. But what it is a giant referendum on Newsom and the Democrats in California. Now, they're going to tell you that Prop 47, well, it wasn't an AB law. It wasn't written by the state legislature. It was voted on by the people. Yeah, it was voted on by the people because it was grossly misrepresented as to what it was going to do. Grossly misrepresented. But the Democrats were behind that bill. Newsom was behind that bill. They all supported it. They all wanted it. They knew what the outcome was going to be. It was so friggin' predictable. Everybody, except for the Democrat sheriffs, almost every law enforcement group in the state and outside were like, this is going to be horrible. Like, buckle up. Shit's going to go south. This was not a shock at all. And they passed it. So now 36 is gaining steam. And when he was asked about it, the same interview, this is Newsom's response. Mind you, all of the things that I listed that are going on, California has become a third world country in certain parts of different cities. It's horrendous. They're going to tell you it's not, but that's also why 3 weeks ago, a month ago, Newsom was doing this big publicity scheme after the decision for Grants Pass was made regarding homeless camps and stuff like that. The week later, Newsom was like, oh, we can finally, now that they've decided they had the power to clean out these camps a long time ago under different health code violations, et cetera, but now we can finally do it. So he did an op-ed or a photo op, not an op-ed, a photo op of himself cleaning up these homeless camps. And now he's suing cities that aren't cleaning them up fast enough. All because it's an election year, and this is what Democrats do during an election year. They act like they suddenly give a shit. So he was asked yesterday as to why Prop 36 was gaining so much steam. And this is how out of touch Gavin is with how people feel in California. Listen. You could listen if I was doing a lot better at this. There we go. I'm trying, folks. I'm still learning this new software. Here we go.
After this initiative's done with not one new dollar, it's about mass incarceration. It's about bringing it back to 1980s mindset where it's possession of drugs and you end up in state prison at the cost of $100,000+ per taxpayer. It's funded by big oil and Walmart and conservative right-wing DAs. The impact's going to have on the black and brown community is next level. And the fact that I saw a poll today and so 70% of people want to support it, I was wondering what state I was living in.
Hold on a second. You see how he's already dropped in. This is the amazing part. This is why Newsom is such the politician that he is. You see how he dropped in all of the talking points right off the bat. Drugs, right? Oh, no, if you're a drug user, you're going to end up in prison, right? Drew that in right away. Which, by the way, the narcotics use in the state is out of control, but that's neither here nor there. It also is an argument for the border. Once again, neither here nor there. I'm sticking to this argument. Stay on focus, Sean. He brought up, if you're black and brown people, that's weird. Are you saying that they're the only ones who commit crimes, Gavin? Or are you hiding behind them because this proposition is a giant referendum on the Democratic bullshit that's been going on in California, which, by the way, is the liberal petri dish for horrible ideas that they try to introduce to the rest of the country? And then it's, oh yeah, Walmart, big corporation, ding, 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 check mark, and big oil. Ding, 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 check mark again. So he's hit all of the bad people are behind this if you're a liberal argument.
And I know people are frustrated. I know people are angry. I am too, but this is not the way of solving it. And I think it's important. I hope you all realize this whole thing was under false pretense. It was around retail theft. Remember that? I hope you guys do the analysis. Please, I can't do this alone. There has to be some scrutiny and accountability. It was all about retail theft. It's interesting. The retailers are not on board. Grocers are not on board. They talked about the retail theft threshold of $950. It's not even included in the initiative. That's not what it's about. It's drug policy reform that sets us back to the 1980s. And we.
Yes. Gavin's going again. He brings up grocery stores, and I am absolutely going to talk about grocery stores. And you know, my local grocery store up the road here, Save Mart. And I talked to the folks that work there while you're in line or you're waiting or whatever. And I've also seen them have numerous issues with shoplifters. And I talk to them, just out of morbid curiosity sometimes, because that's the kind of weirdo that I am. And I know I'm up against a break. But one of the things that they'll all tell you, the employees that work there, is shoplifting's out of control. People will run in, steal whatever they can. And I mean, whatever they can. However, most of it is alcohol or stuff that they're going to resell. And we all know what's going to happen when they resell that shit. It's going to go to drug money. I am up against the break. It's 20 past the hour right here on the Edge of Liberty show. I'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, the Edge of Liberty show right here on the SHR Media Network. You can reach out to me on Twitter or through the chat and almost all the locations if you want to do so. At 2 Against Tyranny or Sackhead Sean, just send me a note. Tell me what you're mad about this week and tell me what you're going to drink tonight. Any of those things will be fine. Moving on to the land of the bizarre. A couple weeks ago, after the in a heated exchange on CNN, Michael Eric Dyson, who is a professor at Vanderbilt, CNN commentator, he and Nancy Mace got into it over her pronunciation of Kamala Harris, Kamala, which when it comes to pronunciations, I've always been a big believer that sometimes it's just where you're from greatly impacts how you say things. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But they got into it, and I'm going to play the clip of their argument, and then I'm going to update you on one of the most bizarre, crazy, creepy occurrences that happened after the argument. And I'm going to go back to SHR Media. This is an ABC4 YouTube video, and we're going to play that right now.
That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people.
Oh, so now you're calling me racist.
I didn't say. I just said you weren't a
BS.
racist.
That is complete.
No, you don't
BS.
have to intend racism
No,
to
no.
accomplish
You are
it.
intending that
Your
I am
disrespect
racist,
of Kamala
and
Harris
that is
part and
offensive.
parcel of
Why
a
can't
tradition
you
of
just-
disrespect.
It's offensive,
Congresswoman,
and it's
why can't you
it's
just?
offensive.
Why
That
can't
I'm
is
not calling you a
disgusting.
racist.
No,
I'm
you
telling
are.
you what the practice is.
You are. You
Why
absolutely
not?
are.
I'm saying the
That
practice
is
is
disgusting.
Let me get
disrespecting. No, what's disgusting
That
is
is
So the practice is racist. That's what he's saying. I'm not calling you a racist per se, but the practice of mispronunciation is racist. Okie dokie. So they have this whole heated exchange. I don't want to rehash the argument itself, but I do want to talk about the exchange because it then, well, I don't know how else to put it. It gets weird. Apparently, after the argument, and it was heated, you could tell there was animosity there. You could tell there was some vitriol there. You could tell that it was angry. And then, well, for lack of a better term, this happened. And when I play this clip, and I'm going to play Nancy Mace, and this is her in Congress yesterday, entering this into the record. And to me, it's crazy what she received from Dyson.
Also enter into the record a screenshot of a text message I received from the esteemed professor from Vanderbilt, Michael Eric Dyson, after my CNN interview, begged me for photos. In this text, he says, after calling me racist on CNN, shh, don't tell anybody, we look good together, and sent me a kissy emoji.
Without
Then
objection.
the guy
Order.
says I'm gorgeous in all these photos. I don't think he's that bent out of shape on how anyone pronounces Kamala.
That was from Nancy Mace's website. So this dude, man, yeah. When people tell you that somebody's acting creepy, this is definitely one of those moments. So they get in this whole heated argument, right? Him calling her, inferring that, or saying that the word she's using is racist. And he even tried to I'm not calling you racist. It's just, you don't even know you're doing it. I hate that argument. I hate that argument. It just absolutely, it just says that you're too stupid to know what you're saying, right? And it's just, is this guy, we see this all the time. But what did she prove? It's all bullshit. Michael Eric Dyson, he's an actor at best, and not a very good one if he's turning around and sending her kissy face emojis and telling her they look good together. By the way, he is married. Now, I'm sure that they may have led to this post that he originally posted to Instagram, then it ported over to Twitter X, and posted this: the ridiculous lies told by Nancy Mace in the effort to smear my name because of her anger at being checked for her insensitive disregard for the VP. I had no intent with her to do anything but be nice. And her white woman's tears, there it is again, and mendacity are all in the service of lies and distortions. I was wrong about her. She is a bigot and a racist. So, and I'll put that up here for you. It blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind that he could put this out. And it does bear the question. What prompted this walk back? What prompted him to suddenly be like, hold on, I didn't send those. And that's the other thing. In an effort to smear my name. He's calling her a liar and a racist. Now, I'm going to scroll down because a couple things. Somewhere, hold on. Well, maybe it's not on this page. Oh, it's on the next one. I'll pull it up in a second. Somewhere there's the actual copy of the text message that says exactly what it says that was posted. But Christina Wong, who I follow on X, she works for Breitbart. She went over to Instagram, dug a little bit. This is hers, not mine. And somebody responded, this is the top reply to the video. Oh, come on, really? Just about every woman in America would interpret it the way she did. So if you didn't want her to make that interpretation, you shouldn't have even sent the message. In the political climate we're in, why give anyone ammunition to fire at you? Sorry, but I'm not buying it. You just own this opinion. And he does own it. It's not even an opinion. I mean, I'll argue with that. This was not an opinion. He was... Somebody said there's a lot of Bill Clinton vibes coming out of him in this situation. And, well, I can't really argue that here. If you go through and you look at the picture, look, she took a picture with him afterwards. I guess that's customary. I don't know. Actually, I do know, because the few times that I've been on TV as a commentator, I've actually took pictures with people. But usually it's just a group shot, or this picture, they were close. He was wrapped right around her. So Nancy Mace kills me. So today she posted this in response: Mark safe from kissy faces and tight grips to the waist. Oh God! When we get into the humor of X, and you'll see, I go to X a lot for my clips and stuff like that. And part of the reason I do is, it's open forum and all that stuff. But the other thing too is the amount of humor that comes out of these places and that comes out of X is astronomical. It just blows my mind how funny it is. There's no doubt in my mind that this dude's creepy. There's no doubt in my mind that his wife is pissed. There's no doubt in my mind that CNN probably said to him, "What the hell are you doing?" Oh, maybe Vanderbilt too. I don't know. But yeah, Michael Eric Dyson, not a good look, my man. I do want to jump over. So last night, this is just wonderful. Kamala Harris was on with Oprah doing a town hall, and they had a whole bunch of Democrats in the audience. You saw all the rich Democrats that they did like the callback to COVID television screen audience in the background. That's just weird to me. It's like none of those people actually supported her enough to get on a plane and go, and they had the money to do it. Not all of them. I'm sure some of them were regular people, but there was a ton of celebrities up there in there. Bryan Cranston and it just a ton of them, and they're all watching this video stream like you are, to be in the background of Kamala Harris as she's doing this big this they're going to call it a town hall. They had people, and we know how this works. There's questions that they're told to ask, or they ask a question and then they get approved and they're told to wait their turn and they're going to be asked in order. But Oprah was asking a few questions too. By the way, if you go back and watch the whole interview, Kamala did not do well. Kamala, whatever. She did not do well. The vice president who is running for president. She really staggered and stammered. And I'm going to show you here in a second. Oh boy, the word salad. She brought to the table tableside salad makeup. If you've ever been in a nice steakhouse, they do this. And she made the whole word salad and even asked you what you want for the dressing. And you have to watch it to yourself. Oprah asked her essentially what it is to be an American and what being an American is all about. And here's the word salad that she produced.
I love our country. I know we all do. That's why everybody's here right now. We love our country. We take pride in the privilege of being American. And this is a moment where we can and must come together as Americans, understanding we have so much more in common than what separates us. Let's come together with the character that we are so proud of about who we are, which is we are an optimistic people. We are an optimistic people. Americans, by character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be. And we believe in fighting for that. That's how we came into being. Because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions for the love of our country, one of the greatest expressions of patriotism, is to fight for the ideals of who we are, which includes freedom to make decisions about your own body, freedom to be safe from gun violence, freedom to have access to the ballot box, freedom to be who you are and just be, to love who you love openly and with pride, freedom to just be. And that's who we are. We believe in all that. And so this is a moment where we stand knowing what we are fighting for. We're not fighting against. It's what we're fighting for.
Thank you. Thank you. That
Oh, Oprah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Was any part of that an actual answer? And she did this in the debates, and we all know what happened in the debates. We all know she's not what's the word I'm looking for? I know a lot of people say, oh, you can't say she's unintelligent. she's really not good at talking, man. Like, she's just not. The whole interview was creepy, but that was just a response of platitudes. There was no specific answer to that. There was no real meat and potatoes. She hit on every one of her talking points, which, by the way, I said this a couple weeks ago. She pre-memorizes these talking points because she knows she's going to get asked the question, right? She's doing an interview, a town hall. She's going to get asked the question. All of these different topics, she has a pre-memorized answer, and you saw that was like a hybrid of all of them mashed together, which is just who she is. Like, there's no conducive end point or plan. It's just platitudes. It's her whole campaign, if I'm being entirely honest. So the other thing that came out last night on this interview is, you may not know this, but Kamala Harris absolutely is a supporter of the Second Amendment. And if you think I'm crazy, despite everything that she said for all of these years where she's talked about how when she was an ADA or a DA, like, oh, we're going to come into your house and check that you're secured properly, blah, blah, blah. All of these anti-gun statements. But what you did not know about Kamala Harris is she absolutely believes in firearms to protect yourself.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz
I
is a
did
gun.
not know that.
If
And I thought
somebody
the
breaks in
problem-
my house, they get shot.
Yes, yes. I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not have said that.
But
My
I,
staff will deal with that later.
yeah.
My staff will deal with that later. Which I said on social media should really be the name of her campaign, is my staff will deal with that later. It blows my mind how somebody who can be so anti-gun will just throw that out there and say that. And you know what that is? That's trying to get the gun owners who are independents to be like, oh, she's one of us. Everybody knows she. What gun do you think she owns? Send it to me, Sackhead Sean on X, or post it on Facebook. What gun do you think Kamala Harris owns? How often do you think she goes to the range? Man, it's just so goddamn fake, and everybody sees it. Hey, speaking of fake, and this is another great clip. Tim Walz, you remember him? He's the guy who apparently is this super manly man that dances around on stage all the time and isn't really manly. But dude, they're doing everything they can to make him look as manly as possible. Here is Tim Walz changing out the air filter on a car or truck and talking to you about what it's like to just be Tim Walz. This whole thing's bizarre too.
All right, this thing, old school carburetor. You can always tell something about somebody's maintenance when how clean their air filter is. Look, to be able to work on this thing, you got a manual. It shows you exactly what to do to fix things on this. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have a manual too. It's called Project 2025, and it's a way to stick it to the middle class while giving tax cuts to the wealthiest. Look, they didn't give me a manual for this if you didn't plan on using it to fix your truck. They didn't create that Project 2025 just to have it set around as a doorstop. We know who these guys are. We know they got a playbook to rig the economy. Let's make sure it doesn't. And you can always tell, again, somebody, if they keep a clean air filter, they do good maintenance.
Oh boy, there's so much to unpack there. So much to unpack there. It's not even funny. So first and foremost, somebody else pointed out too, he never replaced the air filter, and I know it's clean and everyone will say blah 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 blah. By the way, that's an old Scout. I did see the emblem on the steering wheel, which if that's his, I'll give him props, because that's a cool old Scout. But to run that into Project 2025, and here's the thing about Project 2025. Trump has denounced it, and I know I'm up against the break 1,000 times. Everybody knows that was not done. It was the Heritage Foundation that came up with 2025. It's what they want Trump to do, but that's not what Trump is doing. But just like the very fine people, just like every other lie that comes out of this administration, they're just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again, and hope that some people are dumb enough to believe it. And I really hope that you aren't. We'll be back. And welcome back to the Edge of Liberty. I appreciate you being here on the SHR Media Network. Make sure you check out all of our social media. Sorry. God, I wish it was bourbon. I still have stuff I have to get done today. SHRmedia.com is the website. We're also on Facebook, Rumble, X, Instagram, TikTok, and I don't know, everything else. I think we're on MySpace still. Are we still on MySpace? I'm going to have Joe check that. He's been doing a lot of social media work. By the way, check out Jersey Joe tonight. Friday night show, SHR Media Network. He was on 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. I'll tell you, I've been doing this for years with Joe on the East Coast, with other people on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, and I screw that up every single time. By the way, you may notice I'm wearing glasses tonight. I wear glasses a lot. This is going to be a weird rant, and I'm going to rant about it. Do you have like your favorite set of glasses that you wear 100% of the time, and then you have your backup ones, and then for whatever reason, the good set of glasses, your primary set, and I have like 4 or 5 sets of glasses, your primary set just disappears, and then you're like running around finding all the ones that you actually like. And that happened to me 3 minutes before the show. I gotta have my glasses to see the screen, and yeah, I don't know where the hell they went. And I tore this whole place apart looking for it, but I don't know where the hell they went. But the whole reason I'm wearing them today, on top of having to see the screen, is I got hit puberty again or something, and I get a zit right in the middle. So the bridge of it hides it well. Look, I'm trying to cover up as much of this as I can for you folks, because I don't want to ruin your Friday by having you see this. Let's talk about the border a little bit. Man, we all know that the Biden-Harris administration lied to us profusely about the border. They said there was no problem with the border. They refused to call it a crisis. Then they made Kamala the border czar. They try to walk that back 100 times. The Harris campaign has. She was the border czar. We know she was the border czar. Even if she didn't have the business card that said border czar, we were told that she was going to fix the border. Well, it never happened. We know the immigration crisis that's happened in this country. It's all over the place. I don't have to talk to you about it right now. The numbers, that is. But one of the things that did come out is former Border Patrol chief who retired, Aaron Hickey, I think I pronounced that right, testified in front of Congress. And on top of all the things he was talking about special interest aliens and how the crossings increased significantly. He calls them SIAs. If you don't know what an SIA is, and I'm going to read you this right from Homeland Security website, a special interest alien, an SIA is a non-U.S. person who, based on an analysis of travel patterns, potentially pose a national security risk to the United States or its interests. Sounds kind of bad to just let those folks come in. Often such individuals or groups are employing travel patterns known or evaluated to possibly have a nexus to terrorism. We talked repeatedly about this through conservatives have social media in our groups. When Joe Biden took office and undid all of Donald Trump's executive orders, he said he was going to. He telegraphed it. We knew the migrant, they call them caravans, hordes, started moving north the day they found out that he won the election. We can talk about that later. But the day it was said that he won the election, they started traveling north. We know that. We have video evidence of it. We have reporting of it. This is not anything they can deny. We knew this was an issue as a nation, and they denied it for 2.5 years, right up to this election cycle started, and they had to do something because the numbers were polling so piss poor they had to address it. Well, not only were they lying to us about like, hey, it's not as bad as you think, they also were telling their administrators, the people that work for them at Homeland Security, ICE, DHS, Border Patrol, all that stuff, not to talk about it as well. Here is the former Border Patrol chief in front of Congress telling about what he was allowed to say and not allowed to say. Somewhere here. There it is.
Exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego
Okay, stop there for a second, because I think that's kind of pertinent. He hasn't even gotten to the fentanyl. Fentanyl is another whole issue that comes with immigration that nobody wants to talk about. The amount of SIAs that went through are just the ones that they know about. Those are the ones that either they used the app or they checked in at the port of entries. That doesn't include the ones who gotaways, the numbers they don't know about. This is a big deal. Why is this a big deal? Because we have caught people coming in from China in large numbers. And by the way, vast majority military age men. Obviously, South America, some Central America, but also the Middle East. Countries that hate us or countries who have a large population. Illegals who have entered this country, criminal aliens, as we've called them for years on the SHR Media Network. There are criminals. They're aliens who illegally cross the border, know they're illegally crossing the border. Therefore, their first act entering the country is a criminal. We call them criminal aliens. It's not. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. I've said this a million times, but they are a criminal when they do that. Now, if they take the steps to undo that, that's a different conversation. But they're doing that. They are criminal aliens. But now these folks are flooded around this country. We don't know where the hell they are. Look, you look at what's it, 32,000 kids that they lost track of that were supposed to be part of these NGOs that were supposed to take care of these kids. Parentless kids that came into this country. By the way, parentless kids that enter this country. 32,000, they can't track them. They lost 32,000 children. 32,000. And now you have the SIAs who've come in, and this isn't even the known terrorists that have crossed the border. This is man, these guys have potential. There's a lot of evidence there suggesting they may be up to something we don't really want them running around by themselves for. Now let's talk about the fentanyl, because that's another major problem. Fentanyl's coming from Mexico and South America and Central America, where it's made after the stuff comes over from China to make it. And it's a huge problem that we're dealing with. It's poison. It's murdering young people in this country.
San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had
the process and release mission. So let's talk about that for a second. So they took, and maybe you know this, and if you are, I'm not trying to reteach you history, but what they did is they took all these agents who were doing enforcement, and they took them in and put them in administrative roles to process the mass amounts of illegals that were coming over the border. And by the way, they dried up those resources that were doing enforcement. They put them in those administrative roles, and those are only the ones that they caught. They said there's millions that are unaccounted for. Millions. But those are only the ones that they caught. Let's continue.
And still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis.
Sorry, I honestly thought there was more to it. That's on me. Yeah, deal with it. It's mind-boggling, and it will be mind-boggling that this was allowed to happen. The simple fact of the matter is, oh, the simple fact of the matter is, the border was an entire mess. It was a lie. Everything about it was a lie. What they were doing, where they just did nothing but lie to the American people. And then when the lies got so big they couldn't cover them up anymore, then when we got into an election cycle, Biden turned around and put into place many of the same executive orders that were in place by Trump that he undid. Why is illegal immigration such an issue? Well, redistricting, for starters. See, I said this on with Jersey Joe a couple weeks ago. What most people don't realize, when they do the census, it has nothing to do with your immigration status. They just count how many people are in the house. That census is directly responsible to how they district for the House of Representatives, how they district states and cities and counties and neighborhoods. It's by population. The bigger your population, the more representation you get, because they start breaking down these districts into smaller districts and adding representatives. That's why you can see some districts that, what's considered a metro area sometimes have 3 or 4 representatives, or 2 or 3. I forget what the max is, but there's a couple of them that do. And simple facts of the matter is, that's what this is about. Because we know a lot of these illegal immigrants end up spread out throughout the country. And what happens is they're putting them in areas that would probably vote blue, or half the district would vote blue, half of it would vote red. They're out there, and they're adding a representative, and they're hoping that these people, if they get voting rights, vote blue because they took care of them. You think about all the luxuries that illegal immigrants get when they come into this country, criminal aliens, that Americans don't get. Everything's getting paid for. Everything is. And they say, oh, well, there's this and that, and they're sleeping here. Yeah. They invited so many in, they knew what was going to happen, and they didn't have a plan to deal with it. It's one of the biggest travesties that's ever been performed by the U.S. government on the U.S. people. And there's been a lot. There's been a lot of things that the government has done wrong against the U.S. people. This is everybody. Everybody got impacted by this. There was no specific group. This, to me, was a travesty placed on the vast majority of Americans. Oh, man. I got to move on. This actually just popped up while I was on the air. And it may have happened a little before I was on the air, but I'm just kind of getting to it. This was shared by Benny Johnson. But from the White House, there was a cabinet meeting today. Did you know that? You probably didn't. But I'm telling you, there was a cabinet meeting today. First one in 13 months, 14 months, something like that. What's important is the people who are really in charge of this country, that's going to make a difference for Americans, were at this meeting. Oh, well, everyone but the president.
She's talked about the fact that sometimes the White House, in her words, surprises you. And for somebody who has worked
you see who that
women's
is?
health
Who's
issues
running
for her
the
whole
cabinet meeting?
Career, frankly.
That's the good doctor, as she likes to be called, Jill Biden. Jill Biden ran the cabinet meeting. Now, there's another thing that I want to show you, and if I can find it, I'll show you. If not, it's not the end of the world, but it was just piqued curiosity to me. It was when they have cabinet meetings, they give out these really nice leather-bound kind of I don't want to say trapper keeper and sound like I'm in 4th grade again, but folders. And on the front, it usually has the president and the vice president's or the president's name. Oh, I just had it. But this one was different. This hold on, there it is. This one was definitely not your normal one. And see if you can spot the difference to me. Who else is on the seal? Because, yeah. Technology. There it is. That is the presidential seal for this cabinet meeting on the folder, the president's signature, and then underneath, Jill Biden's signature. And rightfully so, X, which was the place absolutely crazy over this, because why is she running the cabinet meeting? One last thing before I go, you can find it cha.house.gov. If you look it up, it's the House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight talking about January 6th. And it shows that what we already knew, Trump ordered, was it 10,000 troops to help assist with that? He told everybody there was going to be a big protest, and nothing was done. General Mark Milley, remember that guy? Yeah, he was a peach. Was quoted as saying, the president just says, hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on January 6th. Make sure you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it is a safe event. That's weird. It sounds like the president was trying to make sure something bad didn't happen. And apparently the president said, hey, I don't care if you use Guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. I am going to be posting this specific to my X as soon as I get off here. It's 2 Against Tyranny. Sackhead Sean, you can just look it up. It came up really, really quick just before I was on the air. So that's it for this week, folks. Trying to, like I said, second show, trying to get this nailed down, trying to get things smoothed over, trying to just, find the rhythm. New shows take a while to find the rhythm. I was a twosome for a while with Clint, then a threesome with Clinton BZ, then a twosome again with BZ. I've appeared on other people's shows, so doing it by me with no producer is a different ball of wax. But man, I'm having a blast doing it. I hope you are too. Check us out, shrmedia.com. I will see you Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.